An Arab millionaire CEO spoke in Arabic, and only the maid responded and silenced everyone. The room went silent. Not a respectful silence, but the heavy, awkward kind. Like someone had just slapped the air out of the room. Mr. Al-Khatib, the Arab CEO dressed in a spotless white thobe, stood up slowly from his leather chair in the tall glass boardroom. His gold cufflinks caught the sunlight as he raised his hand. His sharp eyes scanned the Americans in the room. And then he spoke. But not in English. His voice rolled out smooth, deep, and in perfect Arabic. Everyone froze. No one in the room understood a single word. Except the girl with the tray. Kate Hill, a 26-year-old black woman in a spotless uniform and worn-out sneakers, stood in the corner of the conference room, holding a silver tray with water glasses. She wasn't supposed to speak. She wasn't even supposed to be in this room during the deal. Just serve and disappear. That's what they always told her. But Kate understood every word. She blinked, lips parting slightly, her heart pounding. What he said wasn't just words. It was a warning. A test. Maybe even a game. And no one else caught it. Not the 5 American suits sweating bullets across the table. Not their translator fumbling his earpiece. Not even the project lead, Mr. Cole, who had just tried to impress the CEO with a $1.2 billion merger offer. They were all staring blankly, like statues with degrees. Kate cleared her throat. Every head turned toward her. She took one slow breath, then answered. In fluent, perfect Arabic. Every word struck like a lightning bolt. Her voice was calm, steady, bold. When she finished, the CEO smiled. The kind of smile that makes people nervous. Like he'd just been waiting to see if someone in the room had brains behind their title. Everyone else? They looked like they'd seen a ghost. But let's rewind. Just 2 hours earlier, Kate was balancing plates in the back kitchen of Crown Edge, the 5-star hotel in downtown Atlanta, trying to ignore the sharp pain in her ankle. It had been a long week. Rent was due. Her mom's medication had run out. And every step she took felt like she was walking on hot nails. Yet, here she was, back straight, shoulders high, delivering bottled water to billionaires and men who probably thought she couldn't spell her own name. Kate didn't complain. She was used to being invisible. At the table sat 5 top execs from Preston and Green Investments, one of the biggest firms in the country. They came dressed like they owned the world, sharp suits, Rolex watches, confidence oozing like oil from every word they said. And then there was Mr. Al-Khatib, CEO of Sifan Group, an Arabian oil and tech empire worth more than the state of Georgia. Quiet, cold, untouchable. He barely spoke English, but everyone still feared him. The deal on the table was huge, one of the largest international joint ventures this decade. And yet, they were blowing it. Kate watched from the sidelines, catching every subtle twitch on Mr. Al-Khatib's face as the men tried too hard to impress him, offering numbers and fake laughs, avoiding eye contact, and completely missing the cultural respect cues he clearly expected. They had no idea. But she did. Kate had spent 3 years living in Morocco as a teenager, thanks to a church exchange program. She fell in love with the Arabic language. She learned it fast, too fast, some said. She studied it at night, whispered it in her prayers. It became her comfort when life got hard. But who would believe a maid could speak Arabic? So she kept it to herself. Until now. The moment Mr. Al-Khatib stood up and spoke in Arabic, it wasn't just a language test, it was a respect test. He said, among all these voices, is there one that understands more than money? No one got it. But Kate did. When she responded, she didn't just translate. She connected. She honored him. She matched the respect in his words. And she gave him an answer that no suit could offer. Sometimes, sir, the quietest voice carries the truth. Mr. Al-Khatib let out a soft chuckle. Then he sat back down and nodded, directly at her. The Americans were stunned. Mr. Cole, red-faced and sweating, leaned forward whispering, "What did she just say?" But the CEO ignored him. Instead, he turned to Kate and said in Arabic, "Do you work for them?" Kate's voice didn't shake. "No, sir. I just serve the water." He smiled again. Then, in perfect English this time, he said, "Maybe I'm sitting at the wrong side of the table." And with that, The entire energy of the room flipped. The deal? Suddenly, it wasn't about who had the biggest checkbook. It was about understanding, connection, respect. And Kate Hill, once invisible, was now the only person in the room who held all of that in her hands. But this was just the beginning. Because what happened next would change Kate's life forever. "You're fired, Kate. Get your things." The words hit her like a brick to the chest. Kate stood in the hotel's back corridor, still wearing her serving uniform. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her apron. Her shift supervisor, Mrs. Lang, a stiff-faced woman with icy blue eyes and too much lipstick, didn't even blink. "You spoke out of line. You embarrassed corporate guests." "That wasn't your place," Mrs. Lang added, arms folded tight like she had been waiting to say those words for years. Kate's lips parted, but nothing came out. The moment in the boardroom was still fresh in her mind. How she spoke, how everyone looked at her, how the Arab CEO nodded at her like she was someone. She thought maybe, just maybe, someone would have pulled her aside and said, "You did good." But instead, she was being punished. "I'm sorry," Kate finally said. "I didn't mean to cause any harm. I just understood what he said, and I couldn't let them disrespect him like that." Mrs. Lang's eyes narrowed. "You think you're better than everyone now, because you know a few fancy words?" "No, ma'am. We don't need show-offs here," Mrs. Lang snapped. "You were hired to serve water, not play translator." Kate swallowed hard. The hallway was quiet, the buzz from the kitchen distant. Her hands clenched the edge of her apron like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "You're done here, Kate. And I suggest you leave through the back exit." Kate's legs felt numb as she turned away, her chest tight with shame and confusion. She'd always believed doing the right thing mattered. But right now, it felt like doing the right thing had just ended her only source of income. As she stepped out the back door, the sun hit her face. The Atlanta streets buzzed with the sounds of car horns, footsteps, and voices. The city was alive. But she had never felt more alone. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back. No. She wouldn't cry. She'd survived worse, getting kicked out of college when her loan fell through, watching her mother go in and out of hospitals, nights she didn't eat just so her little brother could. She could handle this. But deep down, a part of her whispered, "Why does the world never see your worth until it's too late?" She didn't get far before a sleek black car pulled up beside her. The tinted window rolled down. It was him. Mr. Al-Khatib. Kate froze, eyes wide. He leaned slightly toward the window. His driver stayed quiet, still. "Kate Hill," he said calmly. "Do you have a moment?" She nodded slowly, unsure if she was dreaming. "Get in," he said. "Let me take you somewhere." Kate hesitated. But something about his voice, firm yet kind, made her trust him. She climbed into the car. The leather seats were warm. The air smelled like jasmine and mint. They drove in silence for a moment, then he spoke again. "Do you know why I spoke Arabic in that meeting?" Kate looked at him. "To test them." He smiled faintly. "Partly. But mostly to see who listens beyond the language." Kate swallowed. "What you said," he continued, "about the quietest voice carrying truth. That wasn't just translation. That was understanding." "Thank you, sir," Kate said quietly. "I want you to come with me," he said, looking straight ahead. "Not as a maid. Not as a waitress. As a voice." Kate blinked. "I don't understand." "My company is expanding in America. We need someone who understands both worlds. Culture. Language. Respect. You do. You see beyond the surface." Her heart raced. Was this real? "I'm not qualified," she whispered. "I don't have a degree. I didn't finish school. I just read books. I watch the news. I learn. I try." He looked at her then. His eyes were soft, but serious. "Kate, I've hired men with 10 degrees who can't understand a human heart. You can. That's more valuable than gold." She pressed her hand against her chest. Was this really happening? "You're offering me a job?" she asked. "I'm offering you a seat at the table," he said. "But it's up to you if you want to sit." She looked out the window for a moment. The city passed by, people hurrying, talking, rushing to places. All her life, she'd felt like she was watching from the sidelines, waiting to be seen. Now, someone had seen her. Not just her face. Not just her job. But her value. She turned back to him. Yes. I want to sit. Mr. Al-Khatib smiled again, and it wasn't cold this time. It was proud. Then let's begin, he said. The car turned sharply and headed downtown, toward the Sifan Group's temporary Atlanta headquarters. Toward a future Kate had never imagined. And all because she made the mistake of speaking up. But maybe, just maybe, that mistake was the best decision she'd ever made. Kate stood in front of the tall glass doors of the Sifan Group's temporary Atlanta headquarters, her palms sweating. The building rose high into the clouds, its steel and glass glinting in the morning sun. She had barely slept. Her worn black purse hung on her shoulder, holding her only pair of heels and a folder of printed resumes that were never picked up. She still couldn't believe it. Yesterday, she had been wiping tables and carrying trays. Today, she was about to walk into a billion-dollar company with a chance at a new life. Not because of a degree. Not because of a name. But because she had spoken up. She took a breath and walked in. The lobby was massive, marble floors, golden elevators, soft jazz music playing from hidden speakers. People in suits rushed past her like they were late to touch the moon. She tried to keep her head high, her back straight, even as her heart thundered in her chest. The receptionist looked up, then down at Kate's simple dress and shoes. "Can I help you?" "Yes, I'm here to see Mr. Al-Khatib," Kate said, trying to sound confident. The woman paused, gave her a long look, then smirked. "Do you have an appointment?" Kate hesitated. "He asked me to come." The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "Right. And I'm Beyoncé." Kate's cheeks burned. She reached into her purse, pulling out the card the driver had given her. "He gave me this." The woman took it, eyes narrowing as she read. Then her face changed. Completely. "One moment," she said, voice suddenly sweet. Kate looked around while waiting. People were staring. She could feel it. Her shoes weren't designer. Her hair wasn't in a sleek bun. She didn't belong here. But then the elevator dinged. A young man in a navy blue suit stepped out. He looked about 30, with slicked back hair, a trimmed beard, and eyes that sized Kate up like she was a math problem he didn't want to solve. "Kate Hill?" he asked, tight-lipped. "Yes." "Follow me." She stepped into the elevator beside him. The doors closed with a soft hiss. The floor started to rise. Silence. Then he spoke. "Let me be clear, I don't know what you did yesterday, but don't think it gives you a free pass." Kate looked at him. "I'm sorry. You embarrassed our team. You overstepped. That room wasn't meant for someone like you," he said without looking at her. "You're not trained. You're not experienced. You're just a waitress who got lucky." His words stung like knives. "My name is Daniel Green. My family owns part of Preston and Green," he continued. "We've worked for months on this deal. And now, because of your little show, the CEO wants you on the negotiation team." Kate blinked. "I didn't ask for that. But you took it." "I only answered him because no one else could." "Well, next time, stay quiet. We don't need heroes. We need professionals." The elevator opened. Daniel stepped out without waiting. Kate followed, every word he said echoing in her mind. The top floor was quiet and cold. Glass walls, modern furniture, oil paintings that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood. Mr. Al-Khatib was waiting by the window, hands behind his back, looking out at the city. When he turned, his face lit up. "Kate, come." She walked over, nervous but trying to stay calm. "Are you ready to sit at the table today?" he asked gently. She nodded. "Yes, sir." Daniel stepped forward. "Sir, if I may, this is risky. She has no background in international business. We can't afford mistakes." Mr. Al-Khatib turned slowly, his face unreadable. "I value skill, Mr. Green. But I value heart more." Daniel clenched his jaw but said nothing. The meeting began 30 minutes later. This time, Kate wasn't standing by the wall. She was seated, between men in $1,000 suits and women with degrees from Ivy League schools. She felt out of place. Until the Arabic speaking started again. This time, it wasn't Mr. Al-Khatib, it was one of the Saudi advisors on the call, talking fast and frustrated about a cultural clause in the deal. No one reacted. Except Kate. She calmly raised her hand, leaned toward the mic, and responded in Arabic with careful grace. Her words didn't just translate the message, they fixed the problem. Silence. Then the advisor smiled and nodded. Now we understand each other. Everyone stared at Kate. Even Daniel. She didn't smile. She just looked back at her notes, hands steady now. After the call ended, Mr. Al-Khatib looked around the room. Do you all understand now, he said slowly, why she's here? No one answered. But the message was clear. Kate Hill had just silenced the room. And Daniel? He couldn't deny it anymore. She belonged. Kate felt it before she heard it, the cold air in the hallway, the eyes watching her, the murmurs behind her back. She had just stepped out of the boardroom, her notepad in one hand, when it started. Two men in suits stood near the vending machine. They lowered their voices, but not enough. That's the girl? The one who was a maid. Yeah. Heard she used to mop floors in Crown Edge. Now she's in meetings like she owns the place. Unreal. She won't last. Kate didn't flinch. But she heard every word. She kept walking. Around the corner, 3 women stood in front of the glass windows, pretending to check their phones. One of them, a tall redhead with heels that clicked like knives, laughed lightly. I bet she can't even spell negotiation, she whispered. She speaks Arabic, not Wall Street, another added. She's probably just a PR move. Diversity hire. Kate's hands curled into fists. She kept walking. Her new office, a small corner space with a desk, a plant, and a view of the city, felt both huge and tiny. Huge because she had never imagined having an office in a building like this. Tiny because now the walls felt like they were closing in, thick with judgment and doubt. She sat down and stared at the folder Mr. Al-Khatib's assistant had given her. Inside were documents, notes, future meeting plans. She should have felt proud. Instead, she felt like an imposter. You don't belong here. The thought whispered in her mind, fueled by the hallway voices, the sideways glances, the fake smiles. They didn't see her. They saw what she used to be. A girl with a tray. A maid. But what they didn't know was that Kate had heard those voices all her life. Back in high school, when she won the citywide essay competition, her teacher said, "Are you sure you wrote this?" In college, when she aced Arabic literature, the professor asked, "Do you have a translator helping you?" People didn't believe in her. So she learned to believe in herself. And now wasn't the time to fall apart. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. It was Daniel Green. She straightened. Mr. Green. He stepped in without waiting for permission. Kate. She stayed quiet, watching him carefully. I just came from another call with the partners, he said. They're curious about your role here. Kate raised her chin. Curious, or uncomfortable? He gave a tight smile. Both. She didn't blink. And you? Daniel exhaled through his nose. Look, I won't lie. I didn't agree with how things happened. But, you proved yourself today. Kate raised her eyebrow. Don't get me wrong, he added quickly. I still think you need training. Business is more than language, Kate. There's strategy, reading markets, managing egos. It's war in a suit. I've been in war without the suit, she said softly. He paused. I'm not here to take anything from anyone, she continued. I'm just here to use what I know. And if that helps the deal, helps the company, then maybe. I belong more than you think. Daniel looked at her, eyes unreadable. Finally, he gave a small nod. The next meeting is at 3 p.m. Be ready. You'll be speaking again. He left just as quickly as he came. Kate leaned back in her chair. Her heart was still pounding, but her hands were steady. Later that day, she stood outside the conference room again, straightening her blouse. This time, she wasn't holding a tray. She was holding a file full of notes she had translated herself. Notes no one else had understood until she stepped in. Inside the room, Daniel sat on one side. Mr. Al-Khatib sat at the head. Advisors from Dubai, translators from New York, and representatives from Washington were all present. This deal was bigger now, international headlines waiting to be written. As Kate entered, a few people stared. She ignored them. The meeting started. The call connected. The first few minutes were quiet. Then came the challenge. One of the advisors began asking sharp questions, in Arabic, about land use policies, security risks, and financial transparency. The tone was skeptical, distrusting, cold. The hired interpreter began translating, but paused halfway. The advisor was using regional dialect, one that many Arabic learners struggled with. Everyone turned, confused. Kate leaned forward and took over. She responded in the same dialect, matching the man's tone, addressing each concern with facts, not emotion. Not just translating, but representing. When she finished, the advisor paused, then nodded. "You speak like a daughter of the desert," he said with a half-smile. Kate smiled back. "I was raised in Georgia. But hearts speak the same, wherever they are." The room went still. Mr. Al-Khatib looked at her with quiet pride. Daniel didn't speak, but he looked at her differently now. This time, no one whispered in the hallway. Because there was nothing left to say. Kate Hill had walked into the fire, and didn't just survive. She shined. It started with a locked drawer. Kate was alone in her office late that evening, sorting through the last of the cultural reports from the Dubai team. Most employees had gone home, the hall's quiet now, city lights glowing outside her window like scattered stars. She was tired, but something in her gut told her to keep going. She reached for an old file cabinet pushed behind her desk. It was the only thing she hadn't touched yet. 3 drawers opened easily. The last one didn't. Locked. Curiosity sparked in her chest. The cabinet didn't look like it had been touched in months. Maybe it was junk, but maybe it wasn't. She bent down and looked closer. There, taped underneath the drawer, was a tiny silver key. That's strange. Kate hesitated for a moment, then unlocked the drawer. It slid open with a loud click. Inside, stacked neatly, were several files with red stamps across them. Confidential, internal review. Q4 foreign merger evaluation, Siphon deal. Her eyes widened. She pulled one out and started reading. The more she read, the colder she felt. The file was written by Preston and Green's own legal team. It was dated 3 weeks before she ever entered that boardroom. The content? A detailed plan to intentionally delay parts of the deal with the Siphon Group. To stall until the market shifted in their favor. They were using language barriers, cultural misunderstandings, and slow responses to push the Siphon CEO into signing a weaker, outdated agreement that would allow Preston and Green to own a controlling interest within 5 years. Worse, the file clearly stated, CEO Al-Khatib speaks little English. Use this to our advantage. Do not translate regional dialect accurately unless instructed. Do not allow outside cultural interpreters. Kate's blood ran cold. She scanned the names at the bottom of the document. Daniel Green's signature was right there. Bold. Proud. Approved. The whole company knew. This wasn't just business. This was manipulation. Deception. And it made Kate sick. She stood up quickly, heart pounding in her chest. Should she take the file to Mr. Al-Khatib? Should she confront Daniel? Was she even safe knowing this? She looked out the window at the city lights and felt the weight of truth pressing down on her. They never expected me to be in this office. They never thought someone like me would find this. A knock at her door nearly made her jump out of her skin. Kate? You still here? It was Daniel. She shoved the files back into the drawer and locked it quickly, slipping the key into her blazer pocket. Just finishing up, she said, turning around slowly, masking her panic. Daniel smiled, but something about his eyes felt off tonight. Like he knew something, or was hiding something. I was just checking in, he said casually. You're doing good work. The board's taking notice. Thanks, she said, trying to sound calm. You've come a long way from the crown edge, he added with a smirk. Kate forced a smile. Yeah, and some people didn't think I'd last a week. He stepped inside slowly, glancing around. You know, this used to be my office. I didn't know that. Yeah. Before they moved me upstairs. He walked over to the cabinet, the one she had just locked. Her pulse quickened. Funny, he said, tapping it. Still feels like my old space. He looked at her then. Long and hard. And for the first time, Kate realized. Daniel knew exactly what she had found. But instead of asking, he smiled again. Well, he said, stepping back, if you need anything, don't hesitate. I won't, she said, holding his gaze. As soon as he left, Kate sat down and stared at the locked drawer. She had a decision to make. That night, she didn't sleep. She stayed up on her couch, rereading every document she had secretly copied to her phone. Her heart ached. Not just from the betrayal, but from the deep truth beneath it. They never respected Mr. Al-Khatib. They never respected her. They just played the game better, until now. By morning, her mind was clear. She walked into the building wearing a calm face, carrying only one folder. She headed straight to the top floor and knocked on Mr. Al-Khatib's private office door. Come in, he said. He looked up, smiling warmly when he saw her. Kate. Good morning. She placed the folder gently on his desk. I found something, sir. You need to see this. He raised an eyebrow and opened it. The moment his eyes scanned the first page, the warmth in his face disappeared. His lips pressed into a thin line. He read each page slowly, carefully, and when he was done, he looked up. Where did you get this? It was left in my cabinet. I believe I wasn't supposed to find it. His jaw tightened. Daniel signed this. She nodded. Silence filled the room. After a long moment, he said, Kate, what you've done takes more courage than most people find in a lifetime. I just did what was right, she said quietly. He stood up and walked around the desk. I trusted my heart when I chose you, he said. Now I trust you even more. What do we do now? She asked. He looked at her, firm, calm, and clear. We finish the deal. But this time, on our terms. And just like that, everything shifted. Kate wasn't just the translator anymore. She was now part of the strategy. And Daniel? He had no idea the storm that was coming. Daniel Green walked into the conference room like he owned it. Same navy suit. Same expensive cologne. Same smug smirk. But something was different. This time, Kate Hill was already sitting at the table, next to Mr. Al-Khatib. Not behind the chairs. Not in the corner. Right at the table. In a power seat. Daniel's eyes locked on hers. She didn't look away. He gave a fake smile. Good morning, Kate. Good morning, she replied, cool and steady. If he suspected she had shared the secret file, he didn't show it. But Kate could feel the tension rolling off him like heat from a fire. He knew something had changed, and she wasn't hiding anymore. The conference room filled up quickly. This was the final presentation before contract signing. Everyone from Preston and Green, the Sifan Group, and a few government liaisons were present. The deal was worth over $1.2 billion. And today, it was going to flip. Mr. Al-Khatib stood first. Before we begin, I'd like to address something important. Something personal. The room grew quiet. During this process, he continued, I've seen many impressive people. But I've also seen dishonesty. I've seen efforts to manipulate, delay, and control this negotiation in ways that lacked respect for culture and fairness. He paused. Daniel shifted in his seat. Mr. Al-Khatib looked at Kate. One person in this room risked everything to bring the truth forward. All eyes turned to her. Kate's stomach twisted, but she sat tall. She is not a lawyer. She is not a legacy executive. But she is honest. Brave. And she understands people more than any spreadsheet ever could. Murmurs filled the room. Mr. Al-Khatib held up a printed copy of the secret file. This document proves that Preston and Green deliberately attempted to exploit this partnership. This is signed by your own vice president, Mr. Daniel Green. Gasps broke out. Several board members sat up straight. Daniel's face drained of color. That's a lie, he barked. That file is fake. Mr. Al-Khatib calmly placed it on the table. We traced the metadata. We verified the signatures. The original was printed from your office printer. Would you like me to show the security footage? Silence. Mr. Cole, the chairman of Preston and Green, leaned forward. Daniel, tell me you didn't authorize this. Daniel stammered, I was following strategy. It wasn't meant to. To what? Kate cut in. Her voice was clear. Wasn't meant to be exposed? The entire room turned to her. Kate stood slowly. I used to serve water in this building. I used to be invisible, she said. But what I saw in that file wasn't just business, it was betrayal. Not just to Mr. Al-Khatib, but to the trust between two nations. People stared at her like she had grown wings. You thought I didn't belong, she continued. But what if the only reason this deal is still alive is because someone like me was finally seen? Daniel stood up, trying to speak, but no one cared anymore. Mr. Al-Khatib turned to his team. Effective immediately, we will no longer work with Preston and Green. The Americans panicked. Mr. Cole jumped in. Wait. We can fix this. Daniel acted alone. He doesn't speak for all of us. But Mr. Al-Khatib raised a hand. We've already found a new partner. One that respects culture, transparency, and real merit. He turned back to Kate. And she's the one who recommended them. Kate felt her breath catch. She had only casually suggested a smaller black-owned investment firm the week before, Hollis Strategic Group. They had experience, integrity, and had been rejected by larger firms for lack of global reach. But Mr. Al-Khatib had listened. And now, he had chosen them. The new firm's CEO, a black woman in a charcoal suit, entered the room, holding a signed letter of intent. Everyone turned. Cameras flashed. The deal wasn't dead. It was reborn. And Kate Hill made it happen. Daniel stormed out, furious. He didn't even look back. Mr. Cole sank into his chair, speechless. Later that afternoon, Kate sat in her office, staring out the window, too stunned to speak. Her phone buzzed every few minutes. Calls, interviews, invitations. But none of it mattered as much as what came next. A knock on the door. It was Mr. Al-Khatib. He stepped in, holding a small envelope. You've done something rare, he said. You spoke truth, and changed everything. Kate stood. Thank you for trusting me. He handed her the envelope. Inside is your new offer letter. Permanent position. Head of Cultural Intelligence and Strategic Communication. And a signing bonus big enough to make the life you've dreamed of a reality. Her hands trembled as she opened it. She blinked. It was real. The salary. The title. The respect. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. I was just a maid, she whispered. He smiled softly. No, he said. You were always more. The world just caught up. Kate Hill didn't know she was going viral. Not yet. She was still sitting on her apartment floor, barefoot in her pajama pants, staring at her new contract on the coffee table. It didn't feel real. 6 figures. Benefits. Travel. Respect. A future. Her hands kept brushing over the edges of the envelope, like touching it made it more real. Her little brother Marcus was snoring on the couch beside her, a half-eaten bowl of cereal on his chest. The TV played some late-night movie neither of them were watching. But Kate's mind was spinning. How did everything change in just 1 week? From cleaning tables to walking out of a billion-dollar deal with her name on everyone's lips. From silence to being heard. Her phone buzzed again. Then again. And again. Dozens of missed calls. Texts. Emails. Then she saw it. A friend from Crown Edge had tagged her in a video on Facebook. The caption read, "Remember when she served water to millionaires? Now she's out talking them in Arabic. Watch this." Kate clicked. It was a clip. Someone had recorded the moment in the boardroom. Her voice, calm and confident, translated the advisor's Arabic questions. Then came her answer, powerful and respectful. Then came the nod from the Arab CEO. Then the room's reaction. The caption on the video said, "The black maid who spoke Arabic and silenced billionaires." At first, her heart sank. Why'd they call me a maid? But then she scrolled. Thousands of comments. She's brilliant. Proof that talent can come from anywhere. This gave me chills. Why aren't we hiring people like her? A black woman with grace, intelligence, and courage. You'll better take notes. Kate blinked. The view count was over 1.3 million. She refreshed. It jumped to 1.5 million. A few minutes later, her phone rang. It was her childhood best friend, Tasha. Girl. Tasha screamed through the speaker. You broke the internet. I didn't even know someone was recording, Kate murmured, still stunned. They're calling you the voice in the room on Twitter. You're trending. Like for real, top 5 in the country. Kate sat back, heart racing. You better be ready, Tasha said. Everybody's gonna want you now. News shows. Podcasts. Probably Oprah if she still does interviews. I don't know if I'm ready for all that, Kate whispered. Tasha's voice softened. Sis, you already did the hard part. You spoke up when it mattered. Everything else is just noise. Kate smiled, tears welling. The next morning, the front of the Sci-Fan building was swarmed with cameras. Journalists stood behind barriers. Security tightened. Her name was on everyone's lips now, no longer as the maid, but as the woman who rewrote the rules. Inside, Mr. Al-Khatib's team was calm as ever. Kate walked through the building with her new ID badge clipped to her blouse. People looked at her differently now. They nodded, smiled, moved out of her way. Even the receptionist who once mocked her now said, "Good morning, Ms. Hill," with a nervous grin. Kate didn't stop. She had a meeting to lead. But not everyone was celebrating. Behind closed doors, a quiet storm was brewing. In a sleek office across the city, Daniel Green stared at the headlines on his tablet. Whistleblower employee exposes corporate deception in historic global deal. Black woman speaks Arabic, changes direction of billion-dollar negotiation. Preston and Green drops 12% after internal scandal leaks. His face twisted in anger. She humiliated us, he muttered. One girl. A man in a gray suit across from him spoke carefully. She didn't just humiliate us. She outsmarted you. She played by their rules and still won. Daniel's hand slammed the desk. I'm not done yet. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Find out everything about her. Where she came from. What skeletons are in her closet. If she slipped up even once, I want to know. I want her silenced. But Daniel didn't realize. The world had already chosen its side. Meanwhile, Kate sat in a team meeting, presenting a cross-cultural communication plan for Sci-Fan's next expansion into North Africa. Everyone listened, took notes, even praised her ideas. After the meeting, the new head of PR approached her. Kate, we've been getting requests from CNN, BBC, even Forbes. They want interviews. Kate blinked. Me? Yes. You're an inspiration right now. They're calling you a symbol of what corporate America ignores. Kate paused. Can I be honest with you? Please. I didn't do this to inspire anyone. I just wanted to speak the truth. The woman smiled. And that's exactly why you inspire people. That night, Kate lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Everything was changing. But deep inside, something stayed the same. She was still the girl who loved languages. Still the girl who watched her mom cry at the kitchen table and swore she'd make life better. Still the girl who once walked invisible through hotel hallways and whispered Arabic to herself like a secret strength. Only now, the world could hear her. Kate Hill didn't notice anything unusual at first. She was on her way to the executive floor of Sci-Fan Group's headquarters, her stride steady, her confidence stronger than ever. Her new assistant handed her a folder with notes for the upcoming investor briefing. The elevator dinged. She stepped inside. Then her phone buzzed. Again. And again. When she checked it, the notifications were different this time. Is this true? Girl, they're saying wild things about you. Watch your back. Someone's coming for you. They said you faked your degree? Her brows furrowed. Her heart skipped. She tapped open a news link. The headline hit her like a punch. From Maid to master manipulator? Shocking allegations against viral CEO assistant. She kept scrolling. The article quoted an anonymous source accusing Kate of falsifying her credentials, claiming she never formally studied Arabic, forged her internship certificates from a non-profit in Morocco, and even seduced Mr. Al-Khatib to earn her current role. It was filled with phrases like unconfirmed sources, alleged misconduct, and insider tip-offs. But the damage was already done. The post had over 400,000 views in 2 hours. By the time Kate reached the boardroom, the atmosphere was tense. Whispers stopped when she entered. Her boss, Mr. Malik, vice president of strategy, looked up from his tablet with a concerned expression. "Kate," he said softly, "we need to talk." She sat down, still holding the folder. "I saw it. Corporate PR is working on a response, but this story is spreading fast. They're digging into everything. Your past employers, your education, even your social media." Kate's throat felt tight. "I didn't lie about anything." "I believe you," he said sincerely. "But we both know the court of public opinion doesn't wait for facts." She stared at the conference table, polished, cold, and suddenly unfamiliar. Across the city, in a shadowed corner of a luxury law firm, Daniel Green smiled at the email report in front of him. Phase 1 complete. Article gaining traction. Our fake LinkedIn profiles are supporting the claims. Bots are spreading the story in multiple forums. Daniel leaned back. "Let's see how long she lasts," he muttered. He hadn't forgotten the humiliation. The viral video. The lost contract. The investor's disappointment. Kate Hill made him look like a fool, and now she was going to pay for it. Kate left work early that evening. She rode the subway home with her hoodie pulled over her head, avoiding eye contact with everyone. She felt the stares, the whispered murmurs. Her phone buzzed constantly, some messages full of love, others full of hate. She stepped into her apartment, dropped her keys, and crumbled onto the couch. Marcus looked up from his coloring book. "Are you okay, Kay?" She tried to smile. "Just a rough day, buddy." He hugged her. And for a second, that hug made everything quiet. Later that night, she received a message from Mr. Al-Khatib himself. From A. Al-Khatib. Subject: "We stand with you. Kate. I've read the article. I know what they're trying to do. I want you to know, Sci-Fan Group does not believe in shadows and lies. Your value cannot be undone by cowardice hiding behind a keyboard. I trust you. A.K." Tears slipped down Kate's face as she read it. It wasn't just about a job anymore. This was about dignity. About truth. About refusing to shrink. She opened her laptop and typed a short but powerful tweet. "I was silent when they ignored me. I won't be silent now that they fear me. Every line in my resume is real. Every language I speak is mine. And I've earned every inch of this moment. Try me." Then she attached screenshots of her degree, certificates, and photos from her volunteer work in Morocco. She hit post. Within minutes, the tweet went viral. Again. This time, for a different reason. The public was split. Some people, mostly haters and trolls, doubled down on the smear campaign, throwing baseless accusations and mocking her background. But others, many others, rose up with her. This is what happens when a black woman rises too fast. They try to drag her down. Kate Hill has receipts. The truth doesn't need to yell. She's smarter than the boardroom, stronger than their lies. Hashtag we stand with Kate. Funny how no one questioned her until she outshone the men. Even celebrities began chiming in. A popular activist tweeted, "The story of Kate Hill is not just about language fluency, it's about how brilliance looks when it comes from unexpected places. Let's protect her." Back at Daniel Green's office, he was fuming. His smear attempt was failing. His bots were being flagged. Twitter had even removed one of the fake accounts connected to his firm. He paced the room. "I want something on her. Something real." But he couldn't find anything. Because there was nothing to find. Kate's life wasn't perfect. She'd grown up poor, worked multiple jobs, struggled in silence. But every achievement was earned. Every certificate, every honor, every sleepless night learning Arabic on a borrowed laptop, it was all real. And the world was starting to believe in her again. That night, Kate received another message. From Tasha. Girl, I just saw your tweet on CNN. They're calling it the clapback of the year. I'm so proud of you. Kate smiled. Her eyes red, but her spirit unbroken. She whispered to herself, "You didn't break me, Daniel. You just reminded me how far I've come." And then she went to bed, not afraid of what tomorrow would bring, but ready to face it. Monday morning arrived like thunder. The lobby of Sci-Fan Group was buzzing, reporters outside, cameras flashing, and murmurs echoing through the marble halls. But Kate walked in tall, wearing a fitted cream blazer, minimal makeup, and a quiet fire in her eyes. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was ready to win. Upstairs, the executive boardroom was already full. Mr. Al-Khatib stood at the front, his presence commanding as always. But unlike usual, he wasn't alone. Seated beside him were 5 individuals, well-dressed, sharp-eyed, and clearly not from around. Mr. Al-Khatib motioned toward the seats. "Kate, please join us. You're going to want to be part of this." Kate glanced at Malik and the other executives. Some looked uneasy. Some looked confused. But she sat down confidently. "Everyone," Al-Khatib began, "this is Mr. Kareem Al-Jabari and his team from Tasher Holdings, a multi-billion-dollar investment firm out of Dubai. They've come to finalize a deal worth $300 million in clean energy expansion." The room went silent. Kate's heart skipped. Mr. Al-Jabari smiled politely, then began speaking in fluent Arabic. His tone was calm, but firm, clearly discussing terms, conditions, and clauses. Kate listened carefully. She recognized regional dialect, Gulf Arabic, slightly different from the Moroccan version she first learned. But her mind adapted swiftly. When he finished, the room sat in awkward stillness. No one else understood a word. Mr. Al-Khatib looked around. "Anyone?" Kate slowly raised her hand. "I understood everything." Al-Jabari's eyes twinkled with surprise. "You speak Arabic?" Kate nodded, then responded in his exact dialect, not the kind learned in a textbook, but the kind soaked in culture. The translator, who had been preparing notes, put down his pen and just watched. As Kate translated his points one by one, flawlessly, Mr. Al-Jabari leaned in, nodding. His entire demeanor shifted. Respect was instant. But Kate didn't stop at translation. She enhanced the pitch. She understood the gaps in their proposal and suggested smarter alternatives. She talked about clean energy potential in underserved black communities in the U.S. She highlighted why cultural understanding mattered just as much as market strategy. By the time she was done, even the legal team looked impressed. When she paused, Mr. Al-Jabari smiled wide. "She speaks like a leader." And that was it. The room erupted into applause. Even Malik, who once doubted her, gave a quiet clap. Mr. Al-Khatib looked at Kate. "This deal wouldn't have happened without you. I hope you're ready for what comes next." Later that afternoon, the news broke. Sci-Fan Group secures $300 million deal with Middle East investment giant. Kate Hill leads translation and strategy. Within hours, Kate was all over social media again, but this time, it wasn't hate. It was legacy. Kate Hill went from cleaning offices to closing international deals in those same rooms. She's not the future, she's the right now. Hire women like Kate. Trust women like Kate. Respect women like Kate. In a smaller, grimmer office across town, Daniel Green threw his phone across the room. It smashed against the wall. "She just keeps winning," he muttered, fuming. His assistant peeked in, nervous. "The firm wants to talk about your involvement in the false reports. They traced one of the burner emails back to your VPN." Daniel froze. Everything was unraveling. That evening, Kate sat in her tiny apartment with Marcus, surrounded by takeout containers, balloons, and laughter. Tasha had come over too, unable to stop beaming. "Girl, you made CNN, Forbes, and even Bet in the same day." Kate grinned, tired but glowing. "It still feels surreal." Tasha poured her a glass of cheap wine. "You're just getting started. You broke every mold they tried to fit you in." Kate looked over at Marcus, who was asleep on the couch, cradling a toy plane. "He deserves better," she said quietly. "And I'm gonna make sure he gets it." Tasha raised her glass. "To better." to truth, to black brilliance. They clinked glasses. But just as Kate took a sip, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Mr. Al-Khatib. From A. Al-Khatib. Kate, I want you to prepare a presentation for the Global Women in Leadership Summit next month in Abu Dhabi. You'll speak as part of the SciFan delegation. Also, we're opening a new innovation office in Atlanta. I'd like you to help build it from scratch, with a directorship offer on the table. Let's make history. A.K. Kate stared at the message for a long moment. She had started as a maid, invisible, silent, dismissed. Now, she was being offered a directorship and a global platform. She smiled and whispered to herself, "This time, they'll see me coming." 2 months later, Kate stood at the front of a glittering ballroom in Abu Dhabi, wearing a sleek navy gown, her hair in soft curls, a golden pin shaped like the SciFan Group logo at her collar. The Global Women in Leadership Summit had drawn leaders from every continent, CEOs, diplomats, scientists, educators. But tonight, all eyes were on one woman. Her. She adjusted the microphone, took a deep breath, and began. 2 years ago, I was invisible. I was scrubbing floors in the very building where I now sit at the executive table. Back then, people didn't see potential. They saw my uniform, my skin, my silence. But one day I spoke. And the world had to listen. The room was still, eyes wide, hearts caught in her truth. This is not a story of luck. It's a story of grit, of being told no 1,000 times and still showing up. It's a story of what happens when a maid understands strategy, when the underestimated understand 5 languages, when the woman serving coffee could outthink the board. She paused, then smiled. What I've learned is simple. When your identity is your silence, you stay hidden. But when your voice is your weapon, you build your own empire. Applause erupted, loud, thunderous, standing ovation. Even Mr. Al-Khatib, seated in the front row, had tears in his eyes. Later that night, Kate walked out onto the hotel balcony, the warm Arabian breeze brushing her cheeks. She looked up at the stars. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from her mother in Georgia. "Mom. Baby, the whole church watched your speech." Deacon cried. Auntie Rhonda passed out. "I'm proud of you, Katie girl. You turned every no into a platform. And you ain't even done yet." Kate wiped her eyes gently, then looked out into the night. 3 months later, a ribbon-cutting ceremony unfolded in Atlanta, a new innovation hub sponsored by SciFan Group. The building, sleek and smart, had one name written across the glass: the Kate Hill Center for Rising Talent. Local students in tech programs, underserved black communities, and young multilingual professionals were already registering. Inside, Kate gave interviews, shook hands, and passed through the same neighborhood she once walked through with worn-out sneakers and a sleeping baby on her back. She stopped at her old corner store. Mr. Elkins, the grumpy store owner who once gave her half-price formula, spotted her and nearly dropped his cup. "You girl, is that you?" Kate grinned. "Still love your peanut brittle, Mr. Elkins. You're on TV now. And I still buy groceries like everybody else." They laughed. Meanwhile, across town, Daniel Green stood in front of a courthouse, his face pale, his suit wrinkled. Charged with harassment, defamation, and discrimination, his empire was crumbling. No one showed up for his press conference. No reporters. No second chances. He had spent so long stepping on people like Kate, he never imagined one of them would rise above him. Back in the SciFan Atlanta office, Marcus now had his own little desk in Kate's executive suite. He sat coloring airplanes on his tablet as Kate worked nearby. "Mom," he said, "are you famous now?" Kate turned and smiled. "No, baby. I'm just seen now." The walls of her new office weren't decorated with fancy degrees or awards, though she had many. Instead, there was a framed photo of her in her old uniform, the brown scrubs and hairnet, holding a mop, looking determined. Beside it was a note she had written to herself the day Mr. Al-Khatib discovered her. "Your value is not where you started, it's where you decide to go." That weekend, at a multicultural leadership forum in Washington, D.C., a young black girl approached Kate nervously after her talk. "Ms. Hill," she whispered, "they say I'm too quiet to lead." Kate knelt down, looked her in the eye, and said, "The world needs quiet leaders." And when it's time, you'll speak. Just like I did. The girl smiled, her eyes shining. Kate stood up, shook the girl's hand, and walked away, heels clicking head high, her son holding her hand tightly. She was no longer the maid. No longer the overlooked. She was Kate Hill, the voice that silenced a room by simply being prepared to speak.